Hi, I'm Tori Earl, and we are Havelock Metal. We're continuing on with our How to Install Steel video series, and today's focus is on how to cut steel. Let's get right to it. There's lots of options on the market today to help us achieve our goal of cutting steel, and we have several of them lined up here today. We'll go through each of their uses and understand their applications, but before we get to that, let's take a quick look at the steel we're actually cutting. And if we look at our little diagram here of our steel cross section, it'll give us a better understanding of what we're actually cutting. So this is obviously an exploded view of our steel, but you'll see a raw steel inner core, followed by a galv coating on both the top and the bottom. This is the rust protection that the steel has. We're listing it here as gal. It could be galvalume, it could be galvanized. Havelock Metal typically concentrates on galvalume. After the galv coating, we have our pre-paint or our primer, followed by the finish coating. Now, on the back side, there's usually a backer coating or some kind of stabilizing coating. It also could be paint itself, but it won't typically match the front finish. So understanding these layers and the fact that they happen in such a small space is important in choosing which tool we want to use to cut our steel. And we'll look at those now and understand what the differences are. So one of the most recognizable tools, of course, is the skill saw. So whether it's a corded or a battery unit, it's a very powerful and aggressive cut. It's important to understand that this is a high-speed rotation blade, and these teeth are taking small bits out of our steel or small bites out of our steel throughout the cut. Now, as these small bits get cut and thrown from the saw, it's important to understand that they're actually very hot. And as they land on your surface of the steel, they could mar the finish. So do take some extra care to make sure you're blowing those away, or where possible, try and cut from the backside of the steel. Now, as we said, that high-powered rotation, as it goes through the different layers of steel, it actually sort of smushes, if you will, that cut and opens that raw steel edge up a little more. That, of course, will make it more susceptible to the effects of oxidization. But that's usually okay when we're talking about some rough sawn cuts, and especially if we can put those cuts under trim, where they can be hidden and protected from the weather, and wouldn't be unsightly to see. Moving from that, we have a grinder here, another pretty recognizable tool. Although it's a different setup entirely, and we may not think of a grinder as having teeth like a skill saw does, it actually does. It's in the form of small aggregate or small granular aggregate on that disc. So again, as it cuts through steel, it's not kicking off the same size of bits, if you will, that the skill saw does. It's more in the form of dust, as a matter of fact, along with sparks too. So be aware that you're keeping your work area safe. But it's the same sort of effect as far as the high-speed rotation against that steel center, and it often will result in a bit of a crusted edge or a wider edge, again, more susceptible to the effects of oxidization. Often you might come back and trim that crusted edge off with a pair of snips, which we'll talk about as well. But like the skill saw, it's ideal if those cuts are kept under some type of weatherproofing trim, or certainly not left to be visible. So moving on to some other types of cuts, getting away from that rotation or that constant spin, we'll look at some shears. We have a few of them laid out here. So let's get our air hooked up here. So these are, as I said, air-powered shears. And as you watch the action of the cut, this center tooth will, or this center cutter, if you will, rises and falls, and it cuts against either the outside blades. The difference is it's now shearing the steel, which gives you a nicer, cleaner cut. It's much safer from the standpoint of the exposed edge of that raw steel oxidizing. So it's a simple process. We are left with two pieces of steel that have nice fine cuts on each side, and of course a commonly referred to a pigtail sort of waste cut. So that makes a nice short, quick work of your cuts with that tool. This guy here is a drill attachment. This is from HMCo. We'll stick it on our drill here and get her in place. It's a simple attachment, and essentially it turns your drill into a pair of shears. It does a great job as well. As we get to things like ribs, we'll want to make sure we articulate up and over the rib, so that we maintain that same cutting action. Likewise, this guy is a disc sort of style of shear. It's a battery-powered unit that you can be pretty precise with. You get to control the speed as well, and it's great for long cuts. And like the HMCo shear, we'll want to make sure we're articulating up and over each rib as we go. As I say, you can adjust that speed. We can go a little faster. The faster you go, of course, maybe the less control you might have. So just keep that in mind. So the other very traditional option that we'll look at here are simple aviation snips. Arguably, these very simple tools can replace everything else you see here. Like I said, they are more traditional, and you may have you may have heard of them referred to as left or right. That whole notion. It has nothing to do with being right-handed or left-handed. It is specifically about how the blades are set up and what side of the trim a waste cut will come from, and what side of the snips your good piece, if you will, or the piece you want to use will come from. So reds are right, and again, doesn't matter about your right hand or your left hand. Doesn't matter if you want to flip them over. Doesn't matter if you want to turn them around and cut from back to front. They work either direction. But reds will leave a good piece to the right of your cut and the scrap piece to the left of your cut. They're great at making left-hand turns, if you will, when you want to keep your good piece to the right, like I say. Same with the greens as far as the concept of a good side and an off-cut side, referred to as left-hand cuts because the good piece is on the left, scrap is on the right. Something to note here, you can see the configuration of the snip, and the handles in particular in this version are high. That keeps our hand up out of the cut. So as we're going through our steel, I don't have to worry about getting my fingers in the way and risking any cuts on my hand. These are a larger sort of scissor tin snip as well. They can do straight cuts, they can do angle cuts. You can see you get a lot more cutting action per bite, if you will, or per open and close. But they're another great option as well. These guys are again very similar. There's a right and a left cut as well, but you'll see they've got an extended cut to them. Again, it's just a longer cut for per open and close of the action. So those wrap up the options that we have here today. Like I said, there are more options out there on the market, and if you have any questions about anything else you didn't see here today, do feel free to get in touch with us. Ask us anything you see here before you. These tools are actually all available through Havelock Metal as well. So that gives you an idea on how to cut steel.